So, hi everybody. As Ross said, my name is David Walker. I work for the California State University. I've had the good fortune of being able to get a first kind of crack at this new WorldCat API. Hopefully, some of you have heard a little bit about it, because I'm going to really kind of breeze through the overview of the API pretty quick. But what I really want to show you is kind of why you might want to use it, show you a prototype, and if you have any questions about like the terms of service, how you can get access to the WorldCat API, when it's going to be available, there's a breakout session later that Don from OCLC is leading. So all of those kind of businessy questions can be answered there. But what I'm going to show you is just the first kind of crack at this API that I took. The WorldCat API, if you haven't heard about it, it's a web service to WorldCat. So you can send requests to it that conform to the SRU standard and get back MARC XML or Dublin Core records. You can alternately treat it as an OpenSearch server, so you can get records back in RSS or Atom. And in addition to doing searches in the bibliographic database for any one record, you can also get back the list of libraries that actually hold that record or hold that item, and you can sort it geographically. So kind of in the same way you would see like in a worldcat.org page for a full record, you can get those as well. So I have to say it's actually a very fully featured API. You have access to all the indexes and all the sort options that you would have access to from, say, the first search version of WorldCat. And there are full MARC records that come back in the response. You can write probably about as complex a query as you can imagine, Boolean, the whole bit. The relational operators are not just equals, but you can do greater than, less than, any, all, not. I have to say that I never actually looked at the OpenSearch part of this. I only looked at the SRU MARC XML just in the 2 weeks that I had this thing. So why would you use it? Well, I think some of us have been dreaming about this WorldCat API for a while. You can certainly look for ways, I think, to enhance existing systems. You might query it from a link resolver, from your catalog. I could see possibly building new kinds of services, maybe like RSS feeds for new books that are coming available in WorldCat, or maybe in a specific subject area. I work with smaller academic libraries, and we oftentimes don't have a real good use case for giving RSS feeds to our faculty from our own collections, because they don't really care what we have. They tend to care what the big research libraries have, so there would be, I think, opportunities for that. And then in the prototype that I'm going to show, I'm going to take probably this last option here, which is to build a completely new interface to WorldCat, kind of designed specifically for your users. So to explain that, though, I have to kind of do some critiques of WorldCat. This is actually the first search version of WorldCat, and I apologize for everybody who's like in that back left corner who can't see this. There's lots of little things I would change about WorldCat, like the fact that there's not a search box that carries through the results, so you can't actually change your search without going back to the beginning. The text is kind of crammed together, but beyond kind of just these basic things, the one thing that I think WorldCat really kind of lacks is it doesn't have availability information kind of integrated into the interface itself. You can do a search, and you can get back books that match the criteria of your search, but you can't even really tell at this level, how am I going to actually get my hands on any of these things? And in certain cases, like with ebooks, you might end up at a site, but your library doesn't actually subscribe to it, and so there's actually like pitfalls and confusions along the way. Typically, what you would do is you'd have to click into the full record. There are actually a couple different options for locating whether your library or some library near you has it. A link resolver is probably as good as any. And from the link resolver, you're probably clicking into one or two different catalogs to see not only is a book somewhere that you can get it, but is it actually like not checked out. So just to get through the first 10 results, the first page of results, you're looking at something in the neighborhood of 30 to 40 clicks just to see how can I get my hands on any of these things. And since most often it's not available, there's a lot of dead ends that you have to run into after all of that clicking. the first search version of WorldCat, as opposed to WorldCat.org, will actually highlight, to me anyways, when the library that I am hosted at has the book. Unfortunately, in smaller academic libraries, because we have smaller collections, these little icons that say Cal State San Marcos don't appear that often. And really, if I was only interested in the books that were actually available in Cal State San Marcos, I probably wouldn't be using WorldCat. But what would be better for us, and I think what would be better for a lot of institutions, is not to just show us not to just tell the user when we have it, but if one of the libraries in our consortium has it, because they can actually deliver the book to us directly, either the next day or sometimes even the same day within our San Diego consortium. And since the San Diego consortium has, an order of magnitude larger number of books collectively than what we have, if you were to flag like every time UC San Diego or San Diego State has the book, that would be that icon would appear much more often. And since it can be delivered, within 24 hours, that's sometimes almost as good as it actually being physically on the shelves of our small little academic library. So this demo was working great before everybody came into the room and sucked down my bandwidth. So in the interest of time, I'm just going to show you some already run pages, basically. So I call this little Project Mango. Here is a search result. So I've done a search into the WorldCat database. Let me make this a little bigger. Against the WorldCat API. I've brought back results, and then as the results are coming back, I'm actually running this little JavaScript, this little Ajax, that queries back to the server, that then sends a request over to this consortium catalog, this regional catalog that we have. And what it does is it checks to see if not only whether Cal State San Marcos has the book or if one of the member libraries in the consortium has the book. And since this regional catalog is smart enough to actually keep status information, not just who holds it, but the actual status of the book, I can show you that it's, that we have that book in the library, but it's checked out. So it's either in the library or, in many cases, it's going to be available in 1 to 2 days, which is that status information. And we can do this pretty quickly, and we can cache it. And so we can bring up to this level, this brief results level, availability information for our users. I mean, available in the library means nothing to everyone in this room except for me, because I'm the only one who actually is at Cal State San Marcos. But that's kind of the idea. We would roll this out to our users and not just to everybody. Dropping into a full record, just to kind of show what you could do. I'm pulling back the MARC record from OCLC, but then I'm also using the ISBN to query out to Amazon to get the summary in this case, and then some recommendations. And then again, with the recommendations, we can also just drop in that little bit of JavaScript to show you that, out of these recommendations, the ones that I can actually get my hands on within the time frame that I have might be just 1 or 2 of these. So being able to bring up to the front availability information is, I think, useful. What's even better, though, is that you can actually limit the results based on something close to availability. So let me show you here real quick what this means. So in addition to just searching WorldCat, one of the indexes that WorldCat has is a holdings library index. So one of the things that I can do is I can send this search for Java and XML into WorldCat and then say, and limit it only to the results where CS1 is the holding library, and CS1 is the OCLC symbol for Cal State San Marcos. So I can actually take this API and limit it just to one collection. Or if I wanted to limit it to a group of libraries, like our San Diego consortium, then I can just limit it to a group using that same idea. And in that way, you can sort of kind of create these kind of on-the-fly virtual union catalogs. And the idea here is really, for me, anyways, I mean, you could dream this up any way you want, is to give users the ability to, and this is kind of awkwardly implemented in the prototype. I apologize. But to be able to move kind of seamlessly between the local collection, the regional collection, and then everything. And having all of that in one interface instead of 3 different interfaces, and having that availability information to kind of follow you along, I think it's actually a really powerful idea. Like the big thing in libraries right now is facets and trying to limit and refine your searches. But there's probably just as compelling a case to be made for wanting to expand your search. Especially in smaller academic libraries, our collections are smaller to begin with. So you throw a couple of keywords at the catalog and you don't get that many results to begin with. So being able to move out to larger collections, I think, is probably even more important for us. The last thing is that this is really just part of a bigger project we're working on with some metasearch, this metasearch system that we have that uses the Ex Libris' MetaLib system. We're kind of building a custom interface on top of MetaLib. And so this would be like a module that builds a custom interface on top of WorldCat. But the idea is that in both systems you can save records. They go to a common kind of saved record place where you can then export them and format them in citation styles and do all that good stuff. And having all of that in one place instead of having part of it over in OCLC and part of it in EBSCO and part of it in your catalog, I think starts to now make the whole bigger than the sum of the parts. So a lot to do. Obviously, a lot of work needs to be done, but hopefully I think the payoff down the road is going to be big for us. So that's kind of my first little venture into the WorldCat API. I think it's pretty cool.
Have you heard anything about from OCLC about commitment to quality of service? I mean, how well, if thousands of libraries are pinging their service all at the same time, and especially during finals week, and everybody's got finals at the same time. Do we know if it's going to be something that will be supportable and scalable?
Well, I mean, really a lot of these kind of technical questions I can't really answer.
I'm just curious if you've heard anything.
No, I mean, I actually went out to Dublin. We've seen, this will probably get all answered later today, but I went out to Dublin with a couple people here, and we saw this massive server room they have. It's pretty impressive. Roy got to touch WorldCat. It was a tiny moment for him. I mean, they can certainly scale it better than I could.
About a week or so ago, my library was given a demo of the WorldCat local product. And there are a lot of similarities between that and what you've shown. In particular, the 3 levels of holdings, the local library consortials, and then the WorldCat. I'm wondering if you've seen that, and if they know of you universally.
I did just spring this on them. I actually talked to them, about what we were planning to do this presentation, and there's certain things that need to be kind of worked out, and as much as you might see this as kind of similar, I think there's definitely going to be in any kind of library space a need for vendor-produced and supported systems and open source systems. I think they can coexist side by side, and this doesn't completely do everything that WorldCat Local can do. People are going to want that extra bit. So I think definitely there's room for both here.
I was wondering, since showing the availability front and center, do you have any performance concerns? Because if you have 20 people trying to pull the first 10 records, that's 200 hits. In a very, very short period of time. So you pull someone out of the water with a bot or read by accident.
Scaling this up. I mean, obviously, prototype running on my laptop. Scale. Okay. We have 23 campuses, something like in the neighborhood of 200,000 plus users, potential users. So scalability is definitely on my mind. I think as we look to do this, we're going to have to consider whether it's possible to bring everything up to that top level. Even then, just off my laptop, I'm caching those results. So that when I run that search again, I'm not going to query back 10 times to that central server. I'm just going to get the cache results for however long I want to cache it. So there's ways I think to mitigate it, but we may end up not being able to bring it up. We might have to push it back. Who knows? We'll see. 2 weeks old, so I'm still kind of figuring out some of the issues.
I have a
Well, no. This is a question in my mind. I'm not really sure how WorldCat.org fits into the whole thing. If I do a search in this API, I do a search in First Search, WorldCat is hosted on First Search, the results look exactly the same. But if I do the same search in WorldCat.org, they're a little bit different. So I'm not really sure why that is, but it's basically, if you can do it in First Search, you can do it here.